You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour. And backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Wheel podcast. And today's topic, we're going to talk about reflecting on how RVing has changed since both Kenny and I started RVing.
Sean, you hit the road in 2014. I didn't start till 2016, and it was late in 2016, like October. A lot has changed. I think the people have changed. Not only the consumer has changed, but I also think that tech has changed. I think RVing has changed a lot in the last 10 years.
I know we have changed as well, so that makes a difference too.
Yep, the way we travel has changed also. So we're going to talk about the people. We're going to talk about the community, the RVing in general, but we're also going to talk about some of the gear and tech that has changed. Some survived and some thrived. So I think it'll be a fun episode overall. I think we have a lot to pack into this episode.
Let's jump right in, and I'll start with when we started in 2014. We had a 44-foot Heartland Cyclone fifth wheel, and we traveled mostly to military campgrounds because that's what we were comfortable with, being military. I was actually still on active duty at that point in my last assignment down in Florida. And we actually used the RV as our home as well while we were there for those last couple of years. In terms of travel, we, like I said, mostly traveled to military campgrounds. So we used a website called militarycampgrounds.us that provided a lot of instruction on how to get into the bases or how to get into the different military campgrounds. And then mostly just the standard apps on Google and Apple that you could use for navigation. We didn't have any fancy setup in terms of RV GPS or anything like that. We just went for it and hoped we didn't hit any low overpasses or anything.
Is that app still available today, Sean? The campground for the camping military base app?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the first I've ever heard that. I've never heard anybody mention that before, that there was an app for military bases.
I'm not sure if it's an app, but it's a website.
Oh, website. Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably an app now, because this was how long ago? 11 years ago?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an app or not. If it is, I'll put a link to it in the I'll put a link to the website in the show notes for sure,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's an app. I'll check.
Okay.
I doubt it.
You doubt it? Okay. Just because it is government ran, or is it privately
No,
owned?
it was run by a private person, but mostly like crowdsource kind of information.
Okay.
So it wasn't super fancy or anything. It was just a website with all the military campgrounds on it and useful information for people that are going there.
Okay, cool. Okay.
When you access military installations, there's usually several ways to enter, several gates, we call it. And so some you can take an RV through and some you can't. So that's important information to know. So it was information like that that actually helped you get into the different campgrounds. And that militarycampgrounds.us is still a good resource for anybody that's going to be traveling to any military campgrounds.
You know, I started RVing just about 2 years after you did. I don't know about you, Sean, but what got us into RVing was, I'm going to say, propaganda. We were watching a lot of like YouTube. Sabrina was on the Facebook. I wasn't on Facebook at that time, but I was mainly watching YouTube, like We're the Russos and Less Junk, More Journey. I was watching those two channels a lot, and I was watching the RV Geeks for practical information, but I was watching We're the Russos and less junk, more journey for the actual like experience, I think. And I looked at those two families. One's a couple and one's a full blown family. And I was like, you know what? They don't seem all that crazy. I mean, maybe a little crazy, but they don't seem that crazy. And they seem like they're out there having a good time with RVing. And Sabrina and I were looking for a way to spend more time together because she kept on traveling back and forth for work, and she'd leave and I'd stay in Virginia. So we were looking for a way to spend more time together. And that's really what brought us into RVing, is just trying to spend more time together, watching these YouTube channels. And it seemed like they were having fun. So we rented an RV and took it out. And I would say that we were hooked right away from the experience, even though the RV that we took out was horrible. Like the rental, that rental was terrible. The jacks didn't work, the exhaust fans didn't work. We found blood in the refrigerator. The shower kept on overflowing. Like, this RV had so many problems, but we still had a good time. We enjoyed the traveling in it. We thought that was pretty cool that we had the kitchen and that we had a bathroom. We enjoyed like the campground when we arrived. People came over to check on us to see how we were doing, because I guess they could tell it was, one, it was a rental, and two, they could tell that we were a little slow in setting up, and especially with the jacks not working in this giant Class A. We had like a 36-foot Class A was our rental. Despite all that, it was a great time, and here we are 9 years later, still RVing in a Class A.
Yeah, we started because we couldn't decide on a place to live down in Tampa,
Mm,
where my last military assignment was, and they had a nice campground there that was basically right on the water.
nice.
So we decided to get an RV and stay at the campground for the time I was gonna be there, because I kinda knew I was gonna retire after that, and I only had a couple of years left, so it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kinda how it started for Sean and I, and now we're gonna kinda catch you guys up on how it's going and how things have changed throughout the years. And we got a couple questions that we're gonna ask, one another. I think we can start with, like, I know a lot has changed for this, but what type of luxuries back then are now standard today? And I'll start with my answer just in case Sean's got the same answer. I don't want him stealing my answer, but I doubt that we have the same answer because mine's pretty basic, but I feel like it's something that we use every day, and that's LED lighting. When we got into RVing, people were just making like they were taking their RVs and converting them over to LED lighting. And I'm talking not just the outside, like your headlights and stuff, but even on the inside of the coach and in your cargo bays. They were still using a lot of, like, just the standard lighting that got hot, that used a lot of energy, and if you were trying to boondock or dry camp, it would wear on your lead acid batteries at that time. LED lighting was kinda new when I started RVing, but is now the standard. I don't I think it's hard to find an RV that doesn't have LED lighting inside and outside for the headlights and the interior lighting and your cargo.
Mine is pretty basic too, and is also something we use every day, and that's, Wi-Fi. I
Mm,
don't think many places had Wi-Fi when we first started. There even wasn't much ability in terms of boosters or anything like that that I can remember for getting Wi-Fi, so that was always a challenge, especially because I've always worked when we've been traveling. Wi-Fi was kind of a big deal, and I remember it was very, very hard to get. It's much easier now to have, and there's a lot more options available.
yeah, I agree. Both those counts. It's easier to get now, and there's way more options than what we used to have. I mean, Technomania created an entire chat. That's how limited Wi-Fi and connectivity was back in
Mm.
the day. They kind of built their whole channel on how do you get internet on the road, because it was like
Yeah.
it was tough. It was really tough. It was a challenge. This is a fun question. What was a challenge back then, Sean, for you 2014 and for me in 2016 that now we look kind of back on and just kind of laugh about it now?
Okay, yeah, mine was parking.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one though for you
It
because
was
towable.
always difficult, yeah, with the towable to, especially back in sites, much more comfortable parking the RV now. I think part of it too was, and I was gonna answer this in a later section of the podcast, but part of it was having that our first RV was like 44 feet, and then you add a big dually truck. It's kind of intimidating,
Yeah.
and I think you just get, like, a little bit of anxiety the first few times you try and park it. Thinking we needed that big of an RV, first of all, was not a wise thought, and we really didn't need it. And the second thing is, just learning how to operate something that big was a bit intimidating, and I think something smaller would have made it much easier.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to this. Have you ever tried to back up that 44-foot fifth wheel at Walt Disney's Fort Wilderness Campground?
Yes.
You did back it into there because I
Yes.
believe they're some of the most difficult sites to back into. That's impressive. To get a 44 footer in there, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. Is
Once, I only did it once.
is that using Julie to guide you, or is it easier for you just to do it without a guide? Like, what's more frustrating, having the help or not having the help?
Well, then I definitely needed the help. Now I don't really need the help. Back then, she helped me every time. Now I can kind of just do it and she just stands like at the edge or something where I know that if I'm gonna get close to something.
She can shout out,
Yeah.
stop. Okay. For me, a challenge that seemed big to me when we first started RVing was actually, believe it or not, just connecting the sewer hose and emptying the waste. I remember watching videos, so many videos on how to do it because I was so afraid that I was going to do it wrong. I was going to mess up the tanks. I was going to make a mess all over myself. I would almost say that I had anxiety over it. Like before we had the RV, it just seemed, I don't know why, it just seemed so complicated. And now when I look back and think about it, like I'm barely paying attention when I hook up the sewer now. Like there isn't that much to it. You're literally just making a connection. But I think back in the day, we didn't have like a rhino, like a good sewer hose. We had one that had like a band on it, and you tightened up the band. And if the band wasn't tight, it would kind of blow off. That actually happened to Sabrina one time when she was emptying the gray tank. She pulled the valve, like it was connected to the sewer mount, but the gray band wasn't that tight. And I remember telling her that I had to go out for the day. If you got to empty the gray tank, empty it slowly because if you pull the lever too much, it puts a lot of pressure on that little silver band and it could pop the band. That's exactly what happened. We were at a rest area, not a rest area. We were at a visitor center that had overnight camping with full hookups. And she made this mess at the visitor center. Luckily, it was just gray water. But yeah, I remember having a lot of like anxiety, be like, "Man, I don't know if we can do this RVing just because the sewer I don't know about dumping the black tank." But now, literally, we look back and are like, "Man, it was like there's nothing to it. There's nothing to it. It's so easy."
Yeah, the good hoses though make a huge difference.
Yeah, they don't leak, they don't bust or anything like that. We were using those old Camco brown slinky ones with the silver band, and even not just the band part, but the whole thing, we would only get about a year out of it. We were living in it full time. We get a year out of them and they start to kink and they would tear and they would start having these little pinhole leaks. Now we use the Rhino ones and they last, I want to say they last
Forever.
like, yeah, I think we've had to replace one because did I step, I did something to it. I think we've replaced one since then compared to the other ones that we're only getting like a year or two out of them. Big difference in the quality, and they're both made by Campco. One's just called a Rhino, and one's just the your standard one that comes with your RV type of thing.
Yeah, I think, like, the sewer hose is one of the areas where you wanna get the best one
Mhm.
that you can get. Don't, like, skimp on it just to save a few bucks.
Yeah, you'll be sorry. You
Yeah.
don't want you don't want a Pucano. You don't want any type of mess with your sewer, and it's not, sanitary. Y It smells horrible. So I'll go back and tell you guys, I think this is further down, but I'll hold on to it. I'll hold on to this story for later because
Okay.
I did have a Pucano, one time.
So, I guess that brings us, Kenny, to memorable rookie mistakes.
Oh,
Any
that's
that you
perfect.
wanna highlight then?
Yeah, now talk about my Pucano. This is the perfect time to bring that up. Sorry, I didn't realize it was that coming up that quick. Yeah, so when we rented that RV and we went out for that first time, I remember watching the RV geeks explaining how the sewer connects and that you gotta make sure that everything is nice and tight. And I thought
I had done a good job of connecting, the sewer to everything, making sure that silver band was tight. But you know what I forgot? I forgot, and I wasn't expecting as well, that I didn't secure the hose into the ground. And it wasn't like one
Mm.
of those threaded ones. Nowadays, I would have put my foot on it or found a rock and made like a little something over it, but I didn't at that time. And when I pulled the valve, I was also expecting this rental to be empty because we had just arrived. I was just kind of playing through the motions to see how everything worked. Well, whoever had it before me didn't empty the tanks. The rental company didn't empty the tanks. And RV geeks, and I recommend this too. I think everybody recommends, you always start with the black tank. So I pull the black tank valve, thinking it's empty, just like I said, just going through the motions. And this tank must have been off completely full because the amount of force and pressure that came through this hose startled me enough that I backed up. And then I looked over to where the connection was. I was like, oh, I don't think that's on hold. And it didn't. It shot up, flipped around, and shot literal crap up in the air by 10 feet. And it luckily the wind took it away from us. Luckily, we didn't have a neighbor. We were actually in the last site of a row, and it was just like the bathhouse. And Sabrina and our friend who went on this trip with us came running around, not because they heard anything. They came running around because they could smell it and they wanted to see what was creating the smell. It was like the worst smell ever. And then we took a hose, we sprayed down all the grass. I mean, it was just total disaster. It was like the worst thing. Well, it could have been worse if we had a neighbor, but it was to me,
Or if the wind was blowing the
or
other
if the
way.
wind was taking it towards me. Yeah. It was literally like that scene from that Robin Williams movie with RV. He's got more hoses attached. I don't forget what he was trying to do, but he almost had like three hoses, and but it was a Pucano that shot up and then landed right back down on top of him. I got really lucky. But to me at the moment, it was still like the worst thing that could have happened. I was like, I cannot believe this just happened where we just shot crap all over this corner of the campground. Nobody came over. Nobody seemed to notice. It was like kind of duskish. And like I said, we were at the very end, so we didn't have anybody on the other side to see what was going on. But I'm sure everybody in the campground had to smell this. This was just,
Yeah.
it was raunchy. It was horrible. It's never happened since. Luckily, I learned my lesson that both ends of the connector has to be secure. So, maybe there was good reason I had anxiety over the black tank.
Yeah, my one mistake that I like to talk about is, again, having something bigger than my ability, I think. We were driving down this Texas country highway and went to make a turn, and I cut the turn too sharp, and the back of the RV went into, like, a drainage ditch.
Ooh,
And it was hard to get out. It took us like 3 hours to get out, and luckily, we had some people traveling with us, and they helped us, and the county sheriff came, and he was helping us,
wow.
but we eventually got it out without much damage. Just one leveling jack had damage to it, but everything else managed to survive, but it was definitely not a good experience,
That-
and I always watch my mirrors real close now when I make turns.
so having who came out, Sean? Did you say deputy?
The county sheriff,
County
the
sheriff.
sheriff.
Sheriff. Do you get a fine for that if he's got to come out and help
No,
you? Oh,
nope, nope,
okay. Well, that's good.
he just came and
Did he block
lent
traffic
lent a hand.
or
No, no. It was rural Texas, Kenny, there was no traffic.
there was? Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess. Just damage to your jack, damage to the road, nothing that needed to be reported, fixed, or repaired. Then
No, just a little damage to the concrete in the drainage ditch, but, the
okay,
sheriff said it was no big deal.
okay. Oh, that's great.
Yep.
That's good
Yeah,
at least.
yeah, lucky.
And you said 3 hours?
Yeah, at
Yeah,
least,
that's a
yep.
long time to be stuck on the side of the road like that.
Yeah, and at the time, Julie had, like, a broken foot, I think, so she
Oh,
couldn't
I remember
help, and
this.
yeah, it was a crazy time, but I learned to check my mirrors very closely.
And that was in the 44 footer.
Yeah,
So how many tires were off? All three?
all 3 of the back, yeah, on one
Wow.
side of
Yeah.
the back, yeah.
I could see that being difficult to get back up on the road then with all three being off of the side. That's why then I guess the jack got busted up, right? I mean, you lost all that height. Those jacks don't
Yep.
sit very high to begin with.
Yeah, and we basically had to lift it up on the jack and then just sacrifice it to be able to get it out. Like, we got it up high enough using the jack and then a bottle jack on the back, and then I just got in the truck and gunned it, knowing that that jack was probably gonna get ruined.
That's when that monster truck of yours comes in handy, that big diesel
Yeah,
dually.
exactly.
Now moving on to gear and things that we carry, maybe things that we used back in the day that really we don't use today. I think that one's a tough one. I feel like there's still things that I used back in 2016 that I still use now. Because by 2016, I wasn't using paper maps. I was already using an RV GPS. But what about you, Sean? Were you using paper maps in 2014?
I wouldn't say using them, but we still have an atlas that we carry in the truck, a paper atlas.
Okay.
You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my generator. I don't use it that much because I do have lithium batteries, but I still have it.
That was
Look,
on my list, onboard generator, got rid of
you
that.
got rid of that? What
Yeah,
and I know okay, I thought of one thing. So we used to have a Blu-ray player in our RV, and we've gotten rid of that and have gone completely to streaming services now. So we don't use a Blu-ray or a DVD player. But those 2 items are still very popular in RVing. I think a lot of people still use, like, physical discs while RVing because you still today, you don't always have internet service for those, streaming services. So I think DVDs are still a thing for RVers, just not me.
yeah, one thing that I got rid of besides the onboard generator was the, Dish network satellite
Oh, yeah,
system.
yeah, yeah. I got rid of
Yeah,
that
because
too.
just streaming now is the way to go, I think.
Yeah, we had that on our RV. Well, I should say we still have it on our RV, it's just not activated anymore. We just don't use it anymore. It's just up there, little dome.
Yeah,
And
mine's
that's
sitting in my garage.
oh, it's not even attached to anything.
Nope.
Oh, okay. So then I guess that could roll us actually just really into tech, DVD, the dish and stuff like that. Tech that we I'm going reverse now. Like what didn't we have then that we use now? Definitely lithium batteries. I started using lithium batteries in 20 either end of
19.
2017 or 2018, I feel like. No?
I think it was 2019, Ken.
Was it that long? I mean, it was
Yeah.
that
It was after we started the podcast, so which was 2018, late 2018.
oh, okay. Was it late 2018? Oh, then it must have been 2019 that I started the lithium batteries. Literally game changer with that. That was night and day difference. I remember one of the times that I stayed overnight at a like a rest stop and it was freezing cold, so I was running my thermostat overnight and my batteries, my lead acid batteries died in the middle of the night while trying to run the furnace all night because that little fan would use almost like 10 amps an hour and it just killed our lead acid batteries. And I was like, this isn't going to work. If we're living in this full time and we're going through winters, we got to do something. So that's how we kind of started learning about the battle-born batteries and lithium and just the fact that we needed them.
Along with that is solar.
Yeah, yeah,
Solar
yeah, yeah.
panels, it definitely
They
wasn't mainstream back then, but it's definitely almost standard. Some amount of solar is almost standard on RVs now.
yeah, yeah. I would say it's a standard now. Also, yeah. I can't think of it like I'm just thinking Winnebago stuff. I don't think there's a Winnebago made that doesn't come with at least one panel, and then it's like expandable. They put a port up there if you want to add more. But yeah, I feel like solar is standard now, but back then it really wasn't standard, and if somebody had solar, they were, like, rich.
Yeah.
They had some money if they had, like, a if their whole roof was covered in solar because solar panels back in the day were very expensive. For me, the smart thermostat, the pet monitor, those 2 things we didn't have when we first started RVing, but I wouldn't wanna RV without them now. I mean, the smart thermostat, not only can I, like, monitor the temperature in the RV, but I can actually make adjustments to it pretty much anywhere in the world as long as I have a hotspot in the RV, I can make changes to it, and that's through Easy Touch, which is a micro air company. That's fantastic. I love having the smart thermostat. When I got the smart thermostat, I was like, oh yeah, I really made this RV up to date with this because this is what our homes have this, and I thought that was a big deal. And then we use a Waggle pet monitor, and we also use the temp stick to monitor temperature. I just like having both of them just as like a sail what do they call that, Sean? As fail safe to keep an eye on belt and the temperature. It alerts you, sends a text message, sends an email, letting you know if it's like heating up in the RV. And then something that's, I guess, still well, maybe not that new, but it's 12-volt refrigerators. I really like this 12-volt fridge that I have in the RV compared to having a propane fridge or the two-way or three-way fridge. This just it's always running, it's always on. There's nothing for us to turn off and off or on. I feel like it's a little safer than our propane one. Not that we ever had an issue with our propane one, but the reason we got rid of the propane one is because it did start to heat up on the side of the fridge. If you would touch the refrigerator, it was getting hot, like not even warm. It started to get hot. I guess both of us, but I would say it made Sabrina nervous first. And then I was like, you know what, you're right. This never used to get hot. So maybe it's time to remove it. So we removed it and replaced it with 12-volt fridge, and we've been really liking 12-volt fridge. Another thing that we didn't have when we first started RVing, which we have now, is a hot water on demand system, and we really like that too. Sabrina really likes it for her showers when she's washing her hair and stuff like that, and she says that we'll always have a hot water on demand system in the RV moving forward. So, and then there's like I don't know if this would be tech or not, but would you consider a safety plus bar tech? I don't think I would consider it tech.
No, I don't think I would consider it
That's
tech.
not tech, right? It's mechanical, it's
Mhm.
bolt-on mechanics, I guess. Okay. But
A
that's
gadget, maybe,
maybe a gadget then.
or
Okay.
gear. Yeah.
Same with like the sumo springs and shocks. Like it all
Yeah.
kind of goes just chassis upgrades, I guess. All right. So none of them that I just mentioned.
Yeah, you've done a lot of upgrades, Kenny. Back to the tech though, I would say anything app based. So I know
Mm,
when we first started, apps weren't very popular. And now almost everything that you get that's tech related has an app that you can either control it or make adjustments or do a lot of stuff that you would normally have to hook up a computer to it
mhm.
to be able to adjust. You can do right from an app now, and even monitoring you can do from an app. So I think anything app based has been main. It's become sort of mainstream, and it's kind of essential now for any new tech. People always ask, "Is there an app for it?"
Yeah, I mean, even our batteries, right? We monitor and make changes, updates even all through the Victron app. We can monitor our inverters. Trying to think, it does seem like everything new does have an app connected to it. I'm surprised that my refrigerator doesn't have an app, but my cooler does. Like I can control the temperature of my cooler through my app. The apps are super popular. And I think that's something that we're going to see even expand even more is being able to control more features in the RV with an app because I know that's what Winnebago is moving towards. So I would imagine that most companies will be moving towards that as well.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't done as many upgrades as you, Kenny, to my RV. In fact, I've the only thing I've really done is added the lithium and solar. I still have the same standard thermostat that it came with. I do have a temp stick that we use when we're going to be away from the RV, and Toby's in there, but otherwise our RV I would say is tech light.
Well, to be fair though, my RV is older, so maybe it's a 2016. We bought it in 17. So it was pretty basic, I feel like when we bought it. So we have done a lot of upgrades, chassis and inside and appliances. But just over time. Yeah, we've just done a lot of upgrades. Luckily, that was over time. That's over like a 8-year period. It's not like we did it all overnight.
So Kenny, any piece of gear, not just tech, any piece of gear, is there anything that you regret buying for the RV?
Yeah, and it's not like attached to the RV. We actually gave it away to a homeless person, and it was our I don't know if it was Coleman, but it was similar. I think it was Coleman. It was a Coleman grill that kind of folded up. It was a little clunky. And it was hard to clean, and we wouldn't use it because it was so hard to clean afterwards. And we ended up we were camping at a campground in Williamsburg, and there was a guy at the campground. Actually, he was in the tent site, but he was camping out of his car. I was just chatting with him and found find out that he was like living in his car, not because he really wanted to, but just out of necessity. And he was eating like cold cans of soup, and his meals were just cold cans. And I said, "You don't even heat them up?" He's like, "I have nothing to heat them up with." And I went back to the RV. I said, "Sabrina, we barely use this little Coleman 2 burner grill that we have. I'm gonna give it to this. I'm gonna give it to this guy, and I'll give him a couple propane tanks too." I gave man, he thought that was like the best thing ever. I was like, and I told him, I was like, "Look, it's difficult to clean. I barely use it. If you want it, you can have it because I don't feel like I'm going to keep on using this anyway." And he was like, "I will definitely take that." He's like, "I would love to be able to heat up. I'd be able to heat up my food." And he was like living out of like it wasn't even a huge car, like a Honda Element, and he had the back seats removed. He had like a little shelf system in there. I mean, it was a nice setup for what it was. He was just making it work, I guess, just making it work. But yeah, I wish I didn't buy that grill. I didn't realize just how difficult that thing was gonna be to clean, like, all through the grates and take the thing apart and had these little wind deflect oh my goodness. It was rough for me. I don't like things that are, like, 1,000 steps, I guess.
Yeah, I think the one piece of gear that we regret buying is our first RV actually,
Oh, no.
just because we, went into it sort of ignorant about what we really needed and didn't do a lot of research, and so we just bought the biggest RV we could find, and it really we didn't need anything near that size. Like, now we're in a 30-footer, and it's plenty of room for us. Even
Would
the little less storage space and the overall length, it's perfect for us now.
yeah, I like your current setup. I liked that 44-footer, but I wouldn't wanna have traveled with it everywhere like you guys were. I think what you guys have now works really well, and I think it's still plenty of space for you guys, for the 2 of yous and Toby in there.
Yeah, and it saves on fuel and
Mm.
everything. It's just an overall savings. So, yeah, I think that was the one regret. Like I said, we haven't bought a lot of gear, so it's hard to say a piece of gear because I think we only buy stuff that we actually have used.
Yeah, I thought that was a tough one too. I'm surprised I even remembered that Coleman. That's how much I've disliked it, I guess. And no knocking on Coleman. Coleman, I use other Coleman products and I think they're great. Just that, man, that little grill thing, it was just tough to use. It just was not user friendly for me anyway. And then we got written down here like a gimmick product. And at first I was like, man, a gimmick product. What would a gimmick product be? But I thought of one, and that's our oxygenic shower head. Because I bet you a lot of people look at that oxygenic shower head and think, oh, that thing probably doesn't work or doesn't do anything. I should have said, a gimmick product that actually became a game changer for us or something that we really enjoyed using. I love that oxygenics. I tell people about it all the time. I made videos about it. A friend of mine just bought an RV. I told him to get one because they were complaining about low water pressure in their shower. He bought one. He's like, I can't believe this thing works. Like, you don't do anything other than change the shower head, and all of a sudden, you have more water pressure and you didn't change anything but the shower head. Somehow it mixes air into the shower head. You're not really getting, I wouldn't say, I guess you are getting more water pressure, but it's kind of forcing the water pressure or water out a little bit. It's like mixing air with it and just shooting it out a little harder. It doesn't use any more water. So that's why I don't really want to say it's increasing your water pressure because it's the same amount of water pressure. It's just agitating it in a way and firing it out of the shower head to give you more pressure. Well, that's water pressure. I don't know. I don't know how really how to explain how it works, but it works and it works great. That was our first upgrade or one of the first upgrades that we made to the RV. And Sabrina was like, "This is nice. This was a good purchase." But if you looked at like an info commercial on it, you'd be like, that's a gimmick. That doesn't do anything, but it's great.
Yeah, we had one of those in our first RV as well, and it was really good. But now in our Arctic Fox, the shower head, it's a lot of pressure for some reason. It's a totally different shower head than what
Mm.
came in our previous RV, and this one is so much better. So we didn't have to worry about switching it out or anything because the pressure is already incredible.
Maybe it's using a similar theory behind the build of it or something.
Yeah, maybe.
And now we're gonna move over to, we're gonna move away from gear and gadgets and chassis stuff and go to the community part of camping because I think that's just as equally as important as the actual RVs themselves. I think for one, like how it's changed since we first started, I feel like I see when me and Sabrina started, we felt really young out camping. Like when we were in our class A and we would go to rallies and stuff like that, or even at a campground, people would walk up to us and we were living in ours at the time, and people would say, "Oh, are you out here for the weekend?" And we said, "No, we travel in this is our our rolling home," and they'd be like, "Wow, you guys are really young to be in an RV." Well, one, we're older now, but nobody says that anymore. But even like in the first couple years, that even stopped. I mean, I guess I would have been about 42, and that would have made Sabrina in her 30s. So for us to be in an RV, especially her in her mid 30s, early 30s, um, yeah, we probably were young to be in a Class A motorhome, like living in it. But nowadays, when we go to shows, like you go to an overland show, and I'm not that young at an overland show. If anything, I'm kind of on the older side for overland shows. They're mostly 20 and 30-year olds. So I feel like that has changed. I also feel like I see more younger couples without kids, and I see a lot of solo travelers. I think that's really increased throughout the years. And then I see them on social media, but I also see them in person too. I'm here at this campground right now, and a solo female traveler is parked behind me. She pulled up last yesterday or 2 days ago in a, Airstream. I just feel like I see a lot more solo travelers, and for whatever reason, whenever I see solo travelers, there seem to be females. I don't know why I see more single female travelers than single males, but it seems to be a thing.
Yeah, I got 2 words for you, Kenny: social media. I think that had a lot to do with, especially younger people getting into it, and also solo travelers getting the confidence to go and do it themselves as well, because people started getting on social media and sharing their experiences, and then they got popular and became, now we have a bunch of influencers in every different age group, and I guess makeup in terms of single, married, whatever, and they are spreading the word. And I think more and more people through social media are learning about the lifestyle and getting into it.
Yeah, and I would say it's more diverse, it's more multi-generational than it used to be. Like, when Sabrina and I first started, it really was. I mean, every campground that we went to, it was older white people. But now I feel like we see a much larger mix of people out and enjoying, that RV lifestyle.
We were just at a campground this past weekend near Virginia Beach, and there was like a whole family reunion going on there.
Mm.
And the reason why I knew that is because they were all wearing the same colored t-shirt every day. So they had shirts made and everything, but they were camping in a big group. There was probably at least 3 generations of family
That's cool.
there, probably about 15 or 20 of them all camping there for their family reunion, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. It's cool that they're all wearing the same shirts. I see that at Disney a lot when a big family goes together.
But then one thing that was sort of disappointing was we were talking with our neighbor who was a retired Navy guy. So we just started chatting about the military and stuff. And him and his wife were black. The second day that they were there, they were talking with us in the evening. The guy was saying his wife didn't want to come back to that campground because they sort of felt racism from the other people in the campground. And I thought that was pretty disappointing because he's just enjoying the RV lifestyle like everybody else.
Yeah, I would have. I wonder if something was said or done, or somebody did something visually, or what made feel that way. I would say, like for Sabrina and I, we've never encountered anybody being mean or anything like that to us. For anybody listening that maybe doesn't know what Sabrina and I look like, I'm just a white male, and Sabrina's Jamaican, so she's black, and we haven't really felt anything. But I will say that Sabrina does feel uncomfortable at certain campgrounds. Some parts of the country may have made us feel not as welcome as others, and not really things that they say, but things that they have hanging around their campground or the people that are at the campground. I don't know if you saw anything that would have maybe made you think that, Sean, as well? I mean, did you feel as if that you not agreed with them because whatever they feel is what they feel, but did you see anything that would have maybe made them feel that way?
No, but I think it would be difficult because I'm a white male, you know? I have, like, all the privilege to not have to think about that. Yeah, I don't think I would notice, I guess is the way to say it, but they felt it, so you gotta their feelings are legitimate, so
Yeah.
it's disappointing that anybody would get that sense because, nowadays I see every different type of ethnicity of person camping. There's it's not just one ethnicity that dominates camping. I see all ethnicities camping. So it's disappointing that people still feel that way in general to begin with, but especially in the RV community because most of the time it seems to be pretty friendly to everyone.
Yeah, and luckily that has been our experience as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be RVing 10 years later. But it is a shame because it's not like they're feeling this in a work situation. Like it's literally recreational. They're on vacation and now they're being kind of faced with this. And I'm sure that was very disappointing more than
Yeah.
anything else. Hopefully it wasn't their first time out. Hopefully it's not something that they experience often and they continue to keep going out because honestly it has not been our experience.
I do want to say, Kenny, in terms of we have a comment here to talk about the expo and campground crowd from back then to now. And I will say that I feel like the expos and RV type conventions like the FMCA convention and the different manufacturer rallies and things like that have actually decreased in attendance, and you see more and more things happening on social media, groups and stuff on social media, which I feel is disappointing for the community because to really enjoy the lifestyle, you need to be out there camping and going to these types of events to learn things and experience the quote unquote RV life. So I feel like that's a little disappointing, and I hope that the trend reverses and people start going to those events again.
I would say it's disappointing too, for the reason of when you're on social media, say you're on Facebook or even the forums and stuff like that, you can really niche down to exactly what you are looking for, and you kind of hyper focus on just that thing. Like you're not really looking to expand your horizons. You're not looking around for anything other than what you're actually searching for. Like you put in your search, you're going to find that exact group that you're looking for. Whereas when you go to these conventions, you're going to bump into people that you wouldn't normally talk with or bump into people that are doing things that you would have never really thought of or even thought to ask of. So I think by going to the shows and doing the seminars and meeting other people, it kind of broadens your range a little bit and maybe you run into somebody that does metal detecting and you never even thought about doing metal detecting and they invite you out and you do some metal detecting or off-roading or crocheting or hiking or biking or whatever it may be, e-bikes. Whereas, like I said, like online, you have your own interests, and that's the only thing you don't really search for when you're online. You're not searching for something you don't know about. And I feel like the only way that you really get exposed to other things is by interacting with people actually at these shows. So yeah, I do hope that some of these shows begin to make a comeback and more people go out and mingle as you would, I guess.
Yeah, because it is a community, so you want it
Yeah.
to be an actual community, not a online community.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't
And I
even
do.
need an RV for that.
Not really. I mean, I think, FRVA, I think it's them that has the newbies and kinda like wannabes. It's people that are interested in RVing, but don't have an RV yet. Like, they can still join that group and be part of that community. You can be part of the RV community without actually having an RV. Like, even when we used to do, like, the FMCA shows, which is now FRVA, So if you hear me say the two, it's the same
Mhm,
thing.
mhm.
Didn't they have day passes, Sean? Like when we were there at the show,
Yep.
couldn't somebody just, yeah, you could just go and buy a pass. You didn't have to be camping on property. You could just go in for the day if you wanted to go in, and then you were given access to the vendors and the seminars. And it was a great way for you to learn about RVing and really a great way to get mixed in with that community before you even owned an RV.
And Kenny, I think that might be part of like you said, you felt young when you first started, and we
Mhm.
felt the same way. But now it's not like that. There's a lot of younger people involved in RVing and traveling, and a lot, like you said, a lot of solo people involved in traveling. And I think compared to the older crowd that used to be the ones RVing and going to all these expos and shows, the younger people are more tech savvy and have
Mhm.
grown up with social media and technology. So maybe that's part of it too.
I think that could be part of it. And I think that these younger generation, I guess people in their 20s now, I feel like they're not as sociable. That's just the impression I get anyway. I don't think they do small talk as much. I think they're almost nervous to talk to people because they are kind of stuck on that online universe. Man, I really sound old now, but I feel like maybe they do have
Back
a
in my
different
day.
perspective. Yeah, back in my day. Yeah, I think they have a very different perspective on the world than we do. I think I'm basing it off of like my nieces and nephews. Like sometimes I watch them and they seem to be nervous to talk to a stranger, whereas I'll talk to any stranger. And I think that's a generational thing. Yeah, I don't think they like putting themselves out there as much as maybe the older folks do. We also have a couple other little prompts here. What trend surprised you? And maybe this should not have surprised me, but the trend of van life still surprises me. And I don't want to say anything bad about van life because Sabrina and I have thought about doing van life several times, and we've tried van life, and we were lucky enough to work with a company Winnebago, and they let us borrow vans. When it's just me and Belle out in a van, man, I think it is fantastic. I don't want to give the van back. I'm having so much fun. But once I mix like me, Sabrina, and Belle in the RV, it's fun, but I feel like these guys that live in it full time, man, it's not for me. It's just not for me with three of us. Belle takes up a surprisingly a lot of space for a small dog. And then, me and Sabrina are people might get mad if I say that Sabrina's big, but we are big people. Like Sabrina's 6 feet tall. We take up a lot of space in the RV. I don't think Sabrina and I are built for van life. I don't know why. I mean, we see plenty of other people our size, and they seem to be thriving in van life. But Sabrina and I really struggle with van life. So, man, that's a trend that I just will never understand how it blew up as big as it did.
Yeah, one that I do agree with that, Kenny, that we feel the same way about van life. The other one that surprised me is people trying to get away with, like, stealth camping, they call it, where you're, like,
Mm,
camping on in a neighborhood or
yeah,
on a city block or something. I guess it surprises me because I don't see the fun in it.
I don't think it is
It
fun either.
Yeah, I could see if they had to do it for work, maybe they were homeless and this is the only way they could live, but just to go out and do it for fun, I don't see the thrill in it, so I'm surprised by how many people actually do it just
Yeah.
just out of fun.
Yeah, and I spot them every once in a while, like at a Flying J. My favorite incognito van life van that I've ever seen was a van that looked like an Amazon delivery vehicle. It even said Amazon on the side, but instead of that arrow making a happy face, it made the frown like a frown face. I thought it was really funny. I was like, "Ah, that's pretty clever." Uh, I mean, he probably could have made the happy face. Like, I don't think there's any law saying that you can't make your vehicle look like an Amazon delivery vehicle, but he went the whole. I mean, the colors, the font, everything was the same except for the arrow was upside down.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And then looking ahead for trends, man, that's a tough one because I think we're going to see more electrification. I know some people might be pissed about that, and some people might be like all on board, but I was just at the Overland Mountain West, and they had 2 travel trailers there that were all electric, the Pebble and the Lightship. Was it the Lightship? It might have been something else, but definitely the Pebble, and, those EV travel trailers, no propane, no generators, all electric. They even have electric motors in them to help drive your tow vehicle. They can park themselves. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see more EV systems, definitely more 48-volt systems. Winnebago's switching over to a 48-volt system for charging their batteries and things like that. I think we're going to see, obviously, we got Adventure Genie using AI. So I think we're going to see more AI features and apps in the RV industry. We're just going to see that everywhere, but we'll see it in the RV industry too. I think we'll see more people going with lithium. Winnebago is starting to make lithium their standard. They're getting away from lead acid. I'm sure other manufacturers are too. So I think we're going to start seeing more lithium. I think we're going to see more sustainable materials being used. I feel like that's the future of RVing. I don't know if we'll ever have like a self-driving RV. Like I don't know if it would be like a Tesla where it would drive itself, but maybe a van, maybe a self-driving van, but I don't know about like a self-driving class A.
Yeah, and I just heard on the news yesterday or the day before, Kenny, I heard a news clip about a lot of vehicle manufacturers and gas stations and even Walmart are all developing their own charging systems, vehicle charging systems. Like at Walmart, I saw over the next 5 years, I think it was, they're planning on putting in like 10,000 charging stations across the country. And
It's a
at,
lot.
yeah, a lot of like these convenience stores, they're learning that, that if they don't have charging, they're missing out on some potential revenue in the stores, so they're investing in charging stations. They said in the next 10 years, they actually predict a surplus of charging stations, which I think will be good for electric vehicles in general, because right now there's not enough.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough either. But yeah, that sounds good. And you know what makes sense too about that is like you go to a Walmart, say, you plug in and then you go do your shopping, your vehicle's charging while you're in there. If you're in there for 30 minutes, I mean, sometimes nowadays 30 minutes is all you need to get a full charge. So now you're done your shopping and you're back to full again. I think that makes more sense than these charging stations that are, like, along the road and stuff like that. I think, like, I think do they call that a destination charger? I think that makes more sense. You park, you're already doing something else, and while you're doing that something else, you're coming back to a full charge. I think that makes more sense than making, like, EV charge stations kinda like a gas station where you just kinda go to them along your route. I think that makes more sense.
Yeah, and Mercedes is making charging stations that have covered charging areas and even lounges to go into while you're waiting for your vehicle to charge. So I think it's going to get more and more popular now. I think it's finally catching on that we need more and better charging stations.
Mercedes with a lounge. That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me. And then also look into the future, your dream rig. What would you like to see in 2035? And it's hard to tell like what I would want to be in 2035, but I could tell you what I wish our RV had now. And that is more ground clearance. And I wish it was 4x4. I don't know if they'll ever make an off-road class A, but that's something that would interest me. I would like a little bit more ground clearance. I did some dry camping a few weeks ago, and I get my class A motorhome in probably situations that I shouldn't have or shouldn't. I've had it on three wheels at times. I just went dry camping and I got caught up on a rock and I actually pulled some of my trim around my wheel well, but nothing Gorilla Glue couldn't fix. So I would like a little bit more ground clearance. I also thought about the idea like once I got to that spot, if it would have rained, I would have probably been stuck and not been able to get back out. So more ground clearance and 4x4 is something that I'm probably going to be looking for in my next RV.
I don't know because everything moves so fast. Like
Mm,
in 10 years, I don't know what I'm gonna want because it's gonna be totally different.
yeah.
I like you though, Kenny, some things that I would like in our next RV that I can see near into the future is I want better, like more efficient appliances in the RV. Like right now, everything's just propane and it's very inefficient. It takes a while to heat up. It gets the RV super hot. The refrigerators in general are not that great that you can put in an RV. I just think there's a lot of room for upgrade in the appliances within an RV.
Yeah, for sure. My microwave uses 1,500 watts. There's gotta be a more efficient microwave, but maybe there isn't. It is a giant microwave, though, it's regular residential, but our AC unit, again, that's about 1,500 watts, and I've been seeing these 12-volt AC units that now fit in the size of a vent fan opening, and I've been seeing them advertised, and they say they run off of like 4 or 500 watts. But I'm wondering, do they also put out half the amount of cold? Like, instead of 15,000 BTU, are they only 5,000 BTU? Because I don't know if that really helps. If they're not really putting out the same amount of cold, you could just make a weaker AC unit. Yeah, I agree, Sean. I would love to see more efficient AC units, something that runs off of less power so that, we could get more runtime off of our lithium batteries and something that's just easier for our inverter, maybe not even need an inverter at all. Just run it off 12 volt and save all, make it more efficient. So yeah, hopefully more efficiency is something that's on the way too.
Yeah, and like I think you do this, Kenny, in your RV when you have to run the heat. A lot of times you don't want to run it very much because it just sucks up the propane.
Hmm.
So a lot of people use like electric space heaters and stuff.
Yep.
So I think even that, that can be improved in terms of efficiency. So that's
Yeah,
what I would like to see.
I do exactly that, Sean. Yeah, if it's above freezing, I'll run electric space heaters and just a little bit of our furnace because it very thirsty.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would like to see, because everything is so computer controlled now, is maybe some preventive diagnostics in all of the RV systems so you don't have to wait till something breaks
Yeah, that'd be
before you
great.
know that it has a problem.
I like that one too, Sean. These are you put some thought in these. I only thought about what I want now. I'm just gonna go back to that van life again and how it kind of swept everything. And since we're talking about 10 years from now, what would be the van life from 10 years from now? What will be the big popular trend? Maybe not 10 years from now, but what is the next big popular trend? I don't think van life is really as popular as it once was. I think it did peak and it's on its way down. My guess, based on the feedback that I'm getting at working the different shows, is I think we're gonna see more family-friendly RVs. I think we're gonna find RVs with more pop tops, more sleeping options. I think we're gonna see RVs with more safety features for traveling with the family. I think families are coming back to RVing. I think, for a long time, when Sabrina and I first started, it seemed like a lot of older people with grandkids and a couple families, and then it went to, like, solo travelers and van life. I think that family is making a comeback. Every single person I talk, not every single person, 80% of the people that I talk to at the overland shows have a family. They wanna know about seat belts in the back of the RVs. They wanna know about extra sleeping options. They wanna be able to sleep a minimum of 4 people, possibly 5 people in vehicles that are under 25 feet even. Like, they're trying to go small RVs that can sleep an entire family. So I think that's where we might see the market going. Small RVs that sleep a lot of people.
And I think in terms of the next cultural wave is going to be, because I'm seeing they're putting a lot, it seems like they're putting a lot of effort into designing better tents. So I think the next cultural thing is going to be people camping in tech infused tents rather than having to buy a big RV and, having a vehicle that can either tow it or pull behind your vehicle behind like a class A style or class C style RV. I think we're going to start seeing more tents with tech infused into them so that they are more comfortable than they are now.
Yeah, I've seen, you've probably seen these too, like even inflatable tents where they
Yeah.
give you like an air barrier and insulation when they're inflated, and then they, pack down real small. They don't have all those little beams that were inside. Yeah, that's pretty insightful too, Sean. I could see that also. Maybe we'll call it camping again instead of overlanding. Maybe the term camping will come
Yeah.
back. I
Yeah.
feel like nobody camps anymore. Everything's overlanding or RVing. Nobody's actually camping anymore. So maybe camping will come back. That'd be cool. But we definitely want to hear from you guys out there. Like, what is in your time capsule? Like, what gear, habits, or trends did you leave behind? What do you consider a must have today? And where do you see yourself? Let's not go 10 years, say 5 years, or maybe even your next RV. What would you like to see your next RV have? Let us know down in the comment section of this episode. Of course, you can always write to us, Kenny at beyondthewheelpodcast.com, or Sean, SEAN, at beyondthewheelpodcast.com. So let us know. Write to us. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know, what are you thinking about? What did you disagree with us about? What did you agree with us about? That is this episode. We're all wrapped up here. I think we packed a lot into this one, Sean. And I hope everybody at home or on the road really enjoyed this episode. We'll be back with another driver's edition where we're going to take a look at the market and see what direction we are going in now, heading just towards the end of the camping season. So take care, everybody. Safe travels, and we will catch you next time.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop in replacement for traditional lead acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour, and backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.